Okay, great. I think we're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. I'm having some connection issues on my end and apologize to everyone for us getting started late here. Mr. Kapoor, would you mind taking over and running today's meeting?
I can certainly do that. We have a presentation today regarding just one issue here regarding the ethics policy, but I think normally we start off with just a just an introduction. We have Mayor Roots from the City of Chester. We have Councilman Shaquan Davis from Chester City Council. Kelly Diaz on behalf of Delaware County Council. Andrew Sheaf on behalf of the Governor's Office. The receiver is on. Mr. Cody Deal is also on from DCED. So good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Cody, why don't we start off with any public comment that we may have had?
Sure. So again, we haven't received any public comments since the last meeting for this committee. So would just like to encourage the public again to reach out to us. The best way to do so is through our resource account email address, which is info@chesterreceivership.com. Again, that's info@chesterreceivership.com.
Great, thank you, Cody. In terms of an update, just from the receivership area, there's a couple of items that have been going on here that we just wanted to bring to the committee's attention, the public's attention. Unfortunately, we are losing our Chief of Staff, Leonard Leitner, who will be joining the municipality of Norristown. He will be leaving us effective August 2nd. Our Fire Commissioner, JP Shirley, is serving as the interim Chief of Staff now for the city. Or will be serving once Mr. Leitner leaves. We wish Mr. Leitner all the best of luck in his new role, and thank him for all of the work that he's done on behalf of the city of Chester. Mr. Leitner here was almost here for 2 years, and under his watch, I think we were able to stabilize operations and start moving the city in a better direction. And again, we wish Leonard all the best as he moves on to Norristown. Another item that is, I think, of public importance is our police department has recently, as of July 15th, started a pilot program whereby it's running 12-hour shifts. The 12-hour shift allows more police officers to be on the street. That has been running since, again, last Monday, and we are making best use of the personnel that we have in the city, and by all accounts, that seems to be working out pretty well. We also want to give a thank you to the DA's office as well as Delaware County Council. They have funded a program that has allowed the Park Police as well as Delcom to, at least over the summer, to run some of the non-patrol functions that the city has. This is the turnkey function as well as the scope function. That also frees up more police officers to be able to be put on the street. Mayor, I know you sent your thanks to Delaware County Council as well as to the DA's office, and we think that's going to allow us to get more police officers on the street, which is important both for public safety as well as for officer safety. Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to comment at all at this point on that issue. If you don't, that's fine. We can just continue.
No, I think you said it all. It's just great to be able to collaborate with the county, and there was hardly any issues at all, other than making sure that the right persons were selected from the Park Police and I call it the 911 center, to come down here. We've been waiting with open arms on our end, and we are really excited just to have this help to get more on the street. That in concert with the 12-hour shifts just gives us the type of coverage that we need, the type of consistent coverage on the street that we need. So really great all the way around. Thanks.
Yep, sure. Again, many thanks to the DA's office, to Delaware County Council, to the Park Police, to Delcom, as well as to the Chester Police Department. So Those were the two, I think, kind of the two main updates that I had for the group on behalf of the receivers team. Does anyone have any questions here before we get into a presentation on the ethics policy? Anything that anyone would like to raise before we get into to that short presentation? Nope. Okay, well, let me go ahead and let me share my screen here. Folks can let me know whether they can see it okay. Can folks see it? Yep, fantastic.
Yep.
All right. I have a short presentation today dealing with the ethics policy, the formation of the ethics policy for the city. This is something that is come out of the plan modification that was affirmed by the Commonwealth Court, approved by the Commonwealth Court, and then affirmed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court earlier this year in January. One of the provisions in the plan modification included the requirement that the city develop an ethics policy and implement an ethics policy. And so that process is underway. And what we'd like to do here is to kind of take you a little bit through some of the timeline of what's been going on, as well as kind of provide a couple of key items from the receiver's perspective that he thinks are important to include in the policy. We'll go over that in a moment. We're hopeful that all the parties can agree on the ethics policy, but again, in the event we're not able to do so, the receiver is willing to go back to Commonwealth Court if we have to. So the plan provision, just to remind everybody and to kind of center us here on the conversation is the initiative that was in the plan modification that was approved required that the receiver, chief of staff, and city elected officials work in good faith to develop a citywide ethics policy for city elected officials and employees. The policy shall cover areas including but not limited to conflicts of interest, personnel decisions, and disclosure. In the event that we're not able to reach an agreement, the receiver will submit the policy or policies to Commonwealth Court in the form of a plan modification, and in such proceedings, the city elected officials would be represented by the city solicitor. And then finally, the city's chief of staff will ensure the implementation and enforcement of any ethics policy, and officials and employees are required to comply with any ethics policy. So that was the initiative that was implemented. That was approved as part of the plan. So the next thing that I'm going to take you through a little bit is to kind of talk about the timeline of where the process is and kind of where we are now. So to take folks back at the end of January of this year, January 29th, was when the Pennsylvania Supreme Court upheld the plan modification, which again included that provision to develop and implement an ethics policy. On February 11th, Mayor Roots contacted the city solicitor to prepare a draft ethics ordinance for the mayor and council to review. And then on February 21st, the solicitor prepared the draft ethics ordinance. On February 23rd, the mayor put the draft ethics ordinance on council agenda for a subsequent meeting, an upcoming meeting. Council at that time did not go forward with the discussion. On March 5th, the city solicitor provided a revised draft ethics policy. And in between this time and May 8th, there were meetings with the solicitor, with council members regarding the ethics ordinance. On May 8th, the city solicitor circulated another revised draft to council, referring to it as final and requesting comment and indicating that the plan was to have it on the council agenda for May. On May 21st, the city council agenda for May 22nd meeting is sent out. That included the draft ethics ordinance that was sent to council earlier that month by the city solicitor. As those of you may remember, that meeting was rescheduled for May 29th due to the shooting that was in Chester. At that point, after the email was sent out, council members West, Gibson, and Green responded that they would not move forward with introducing the ordinance because they had not had the opportunity to review it, despite the fact that it was sent to them on May 8th, and that they participated in meetings where their input was solicited. On May 29th, the draft ethics ordinance is on the council meeting agenda and was introduced. On June 5th, council held an executive session to discuss the ordinance. On June 12th, the ethics ordinance was on the council agenda for its first reading. Council tabled the ordinance, however. On June 26th, the solicitor sends out another draft of the ethics ordinance to council stating that he had incorporated all changes that were discussed and that the intention was to place it on the agenda for the next council meeting. On July 10th, the ethics ordinance is again on the council agenda. Mayor Roots made a motion to move the ordinance forward, but it failed because there was not a second. So on July 15th, the receiver, chief of staff, that is me, emailed council and the mayor regarding the status of the ethics ordinance, including the receiver's comments to the ethics ordinance, and included a request by the receiver that the mayor and council provide to him in writing by July 31st of this month, July 31st, 2024, any modifications to the draft ethics ordinance. The purpose of that email was that this had been started to be discussed since February. It's a court mandated provision as part of the plan modification. At this point, the receiver was looking to try and kind of understand where the parties were, to the extent there were any other concerns out there that they be provided in writing again by the end of the month. So that would be in about 8 days from now. The key items, just to raise with the committee as well as with the public. There's a variety of items that are in the draft ethics policy. We're not going to cover all of those today. In fact, I'm not even going to delve into those. They were part of documents that had been already introduced into council. And I think the public can take a look at any of the previous agenda packets that included those. But there's a couple items in here that we wanted to just reinforce that we thought were particularly important, kind of given the experience that we've had over the past roughly 4 years. So the key items, again, and this is not an exhaustive list, but these are items that we wanted to raise with the committee. One, that a requirement that any applicant for city employment or board service disclose business relationships with any officials or employees. You'll see several areas here where disclosure is important. That we think, again, that may not prevent someone from getting a job here if they have a business relationship with an official or employee, depending upon the situation. But we need to have that disclosed up front, just so everybody is on the same page. Second item, requirement that applicants, officers, and employees disclose family relationships with any city employees or elected officials. And family would be defined as parents, children, spouses, domestic partners, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, cousins, step-siblings, and former family members. So again, here, it's not going to necessarily preclude somebody from getting a position or for being an employee or an elected official who has a relationship or a family relationship with someone else in the city. But we've been in situations where we don't know about that until afterwards. And again, the point here is disclosure. The third item is an annual requirement of disclosure of secondary employment, including but not limited to employment as a W-2 employee or an independent contractor. Here, essentially, secondary employment means another job. So this would apply, citywide. That again, the point here is disclosure. It's not necessarily saying that you could not take another position not have another job or not as a W-2 employee or an independent contractor. Of course, it does matter insofar as if you have a full-time job in the city, having a full-time job someplace else, really would obviously raise some concerns. But with respect to having disclosure, the point here is you want to know for employees who may be working in other places. And the other thing here too is just to make sure everybody's aware of any potential conflict of interest that may be occurring in other places. And then the final item that we wanted to just mention today to the committee was the application of the ethics ordinance to all city boards and authorities, as well as to individuals appointed to any board by city council. Again, the city has various boards that it has created that are extensions of the city. Parking Authority, CEDA, the Stormwater Authority Board, all of those were created by the city, and we would seek to have the application. We would seek to apply the ethics ordinance to those entities. Again, as well as to individuals appointed to any board by city council. So even if you may have a joint authority, even if it may be some other entity out there to which the city has appointed somebody, we would also seek to have the ethics ordinance applied to those individuals. So that is the presentation that I have today. Kind of a short one here, but I'm happy to take any comments or I'm happy to take any questions or field any comments from the committee.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this applicable to the electeds as well, or just applicants?
Yes. So when you see officials, officials includes elected officials.
Okay.
So it would include the mayor and council members as well as the controller.
And then my second question is for the annual disclosure of income from, showing on W-2s or as an independent contractor. Where would those forms go to? Would it go to the solicitor, or what's the plan for those forms?
Under the draft policy right now, they would go to the HR department.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I have a quick comment.
Sure.
I just want to say, I think it's a great idea. I mean, a lot of cities have them. They help create a transparent government and instill confidence in the government. I know a lot of places do have them, and it's a good governance thing. And as a committee member, I'm very supportive of it.
Thank you, Mr. Sheaf. Anybody else? Okay, seeing as none, I'm not sure if there's anything else that we have for today. Anyone else would like to make any comments before we for the end for the day? Nope. All right. Appreciate the time, everyone. Thank you for the public for tuning in, and we should be back in 2 weeks. Have a great day.